I gripped the steering wheel tighter as I pulled into the familiar driveway of my childhood home, the Mercedes engine purring to a stop. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent years being told I'd never amount to anything, and here I was, about to destroy everything they held dear. My name is Amber, and I'm about to teach my family a lesson they'll never forget. Darling, you made it! My mother's shrill voice pierced the air as I stepped out of the car. She rushed forward in her designer dress, arms outstretched for an embrace that felt more like a performance than genuine affection. Behind her, my father stood on the porch, watching with that same disapproving look I'd grown up with. "Hi, Mom," I said, accepting her artificial hug. The scent of her expensive perfume brought back memories of all the times she'd told me I needed to try harder to be more like my brother. Speaking of the golden child, Reginald emerged from the house, looking considerably less polished than usual. His normally pristine appearance showed subtle signs of wear, slightly bloodshot eyes, a barely noticeable tremor in his hands. "Little sister," he called out, his trademark smirk in place. "Still driving that old thing?" I smiled, knowing the old thing cost more than his annual bonus. "It gets me where I need to go." Come inside," my father commanded, barely looking at me. "Your mother's been cooking all day." The house hadn't changed, still filled with photos of Reginald's achievements. His graduation, his first job at the prestigious finance firm, his promotions. The few photos of me were from awkward teenage years, strategically placed in darker corners. "So," my mother started as we settled in the living room, "how's that little internet thing of yours going? Still selling? What was it again?" "It's an e-commerce platform, Mom, and it's going fine." "More than fine. Try 8 figures in revenue last year alone." But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. "Well, that's nice," she said in the same tone she used when describing discount store clothing. "Your brother just closed another major deal, didn't you, Reggie? Tell her about it." Reginald shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "It's not that interesting, Mother." "Don't be modest. He's handling the Peterson account now, biggest client at the firm." My father beamed with pride, then turned to me with a pointed look. "You know, if you'd followed our advice and gone into finance like your brother—" "Dad, please," I interrupted, maintaining my calm. "Let's not start that again." "Your father's just trying to help," my mother chimed in. "We worry about you, sweetheart, living alone in that tiny apartment, working on your computer all day. It's not too late to make some changes." If they only knew about my penthouse overlooking Central Park. "Where's Violet?" I asked, changing the subject. "I thought she'd be here by now." "Oh, your cousin's running late as usual," my mother sighed. "That girl needs to learn some responsibility. Unlike Reginald, always so punctual, so professional." I watched as Reginald excused himself, heading to the bathroom for the 3rd time in an hour. Nobody else seemed to notice, or maybe they were choosing not to. My phone buzzed, a text from Violet. "Everything's ready for tomorrow. You sure about this?" I typed back quickly. "Absolutely." "Amber, put that phone away," my father snapped. "We're having family time." Family time. Right. Like all those family times when they'd forgotten my school performances, or when they'd emptied my college fund to pay for Reginald's MBA, telling me I could take out loans since I wasn't going anywhere special anyway. "Sorry, Dad," I said sweetly, slipping the phone into my pocket. "Just confirming details for tomorrow's presentation." "Presentation?" my mother asked, suddenly interested. "What presentation?" "Oh, just a little something I've prepared for the family reunion tomorrow. I thought it was time to share what I've been up to these past few years." Reginald returned, looking slightly pale. Our eyes met, and for a moment I saw fear flash across his face. He knew something was coming. He just didn't know what. "Well, isn't that lovely?" my mother said dismissively. "Now, who wants to hear about Reginald's new beach house?" I smiled and settled back in my chair, letting them ramble on about their precious son's latest achievement. Let them have this moment. Tomorrow, their perfect little world would come crashing down and I would finally have my revenge. The best part? They'd brought it all on themselves. Later that night, I sat in my old bedroom, scrolling through the evidence I'd collected over the past year. My laptop's glow illuminated the space where my childhood dreams had been crushed, one criticism at a time. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. "It's open," I called out. Reginald slipped in, closing the door behind him. He looked worse than earlier, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool air conditioning. Need something? I asked, keeping my voice neutral while quickly minimizing the windows on my screen. Look, Amber. He ran his hands through his hair, a nervous habit from childhood. About tomorrow? I was wondering what exactly you're planning to present. I leaned back in my chair. Why so concerned, big brother? I'm not. I just. His hands were shaking more noticeably now. Things haven't been great at work lately, and I. You mean since you lost the Thompson account? Or since you started dipping into client funds to cover your gambling debts? The color drained from his face. How did you. I know everything, Reg. Everything. I pulled up a document on my screen, turning it toward him. Including your little visits to that sketchy clinic on 5th Street. Interesting place for a financial advisor to spend so much time, isn't it? You've been following me? I didn't have to. Money leaves trails, brother dear, and you've left quite a few. He collapsed onto my bed, head in his hands. Please, you can't tell Mom and Dad. They'll what? Finally see their golden boy for who he really is? I stood up, walking to my window. Remember when I was 17 and I asked to borrow money for my web development course? Amber, that was different. Different how? Oh, right, because Dad said I was wasting my time with internet nonsense, while they paid for your gambling habit disguised as investment losses. A notification popped up on my phone, another 6-figure sale on my platform. I smiled, remembering the years of working late nights, building my business piece by piece while my family mocked my choices. What do you want? Reginald asked, his voice barely a whisper. Money? I can get you money. I laughed. I made more last month than you do in a year, Reg. I don't need your money. I never did. His head snapped up. What? That little internet thing Mom keeps dismissing? It's worth millions now. But that's not even the best part. I pulled up another file. Want to know what I found in Dad's records? Don't, he pleaded. Too late. I already know about the fake accounts, the money laundering through his firm. Did you know he's been stealing from his clients for years? Of course you did. You learned from the master, didn't you? A text from Violet lit up my phone. Found more dirt on Uncle Marquis. Call me ASAP. How long have you been planning this? Reginald asked. Since the day I overheard Mom and Dad laughing about my cute little website while they planned your surprise Porsche gift. The same day I had to take a bus home because I couldn't afford car repairs. He stood up, desperation clear in his eyes. We can fix this. Whatever you're planning for tomorrow, we can work something out. Like how you worked something out when I needed help? When I was working 3 jobs to make ends meet, and you told everyone I was just too lazy to find a real career? I was wrong, okay? I admit it. I was wrong about everything. I turned back to my laptop, pulling up the presentation I'd prepared for tomorrow. You know what's funny? I actually believed in you when we were kids. My big brother, the family success story. Until I realized success meant nothing without integrity. Please, he tried one last time. Mom and Dad, this will destroy them. They destroyed themselves, Reg. I'm just going to show everyone the truth. I walked to my door, opening it. Now get out, and don't even think about warning them. I have backups of everything. As he slunk out, I noticed his hands were trembling worse than ever. He'd probably be looking for another fix soon. My phone buzzed again. Violet sending documents about Dad's latest fraud scheme. Perfect timing. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. I closed my laptop, lying back on my childhood bed. Above me, glow-in-the-dark stars I'd put up at 12 still clung to the ceiling, back when I believed in wishes and family loyalty. Now I knew better. Sometimes the only way to find justice is to create it yourself. Tomorrow, every star would fall, and with them, my family's carefully constructed facade would crumble to dust. Morning arrived with the smell of coffee and my mother's forced cheerfulness. I was checking my emails when she burst into my room without knocking. Amber, dear, your father and I need to speak with you. Her tone was honey-sweet, always a bad sign. In the kitchen, Dad sat at the head of the table, reading something on his iPad. Reginald was nowhere to be seen. Sleep well? Mom asked, pouring coffee I hadn't requested. Cut to the chase, I said, remaining standing. What's this about? Dad put down his iPad, revealing what I'd been expecting, an article about my company's recent valuation. Care to explain this? Looks pretty self-explanatory to me. $200 million? Mom's voice cracked. Your little website is worth $200 million. 240, actually. That article's a few months old. Dad's face reddened. And when exactly were you planning to tell us about this? I wasn't. We're your parents. Mom slammed her hand on the table. We raised you, supported you. Supported me? I laughed. Like when you told everyone I was a disappointment? Or when you spent my college fund on Reginald's gambling debts? We did what was best for the family, Dad interjected. Everything we've done has been for this family. Really? Should we talk about what's best for the family, Dad? Because I have some interesting documents that might change your perspective on that. He paled slightly but pressed on. As your parents, we have a right to... To what? My money? Is that what this is about? Don't be dramatic, Mom said. We're simply saying that as your parents, we deserve to share in your success. After all, we gave you everything. I pulled out my phone, playing a recording from 15 years ago. That internet nonsense will get you nowhere, Amber. You're embarrassing this family with your silly dreams. Dad's voice, crystal clear through the speaker. You recorded us? Mom gasped. I recorded everything. Every insult, every time you chose Reginald over me, every scheme you plotted. Speaking of which, how's the Peterson account, Dad? Still cooking those books? His face went from red to white in seconds. How dare you? No, how dare you? I stepped closer to the table. You want to talk about family? Let's talk about how I paid for Reginald's rehab last year, anonymously, because heaven forbid anyone know the golden boy had a problem. Mom's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. What rehab? Oh, you didn't know? Funny how secrets work in this family, isn't it? Whatever you think you know, Dad started, but I cut him off. I know everything. Every fraudulent transaction, every covered-up scandal, every lie you've told to maintain your precious reputation. I pulled up another document on my phone. Want to see the proof? I'm presenting it at the reunion anyway, but I could give you a preview. You wouldn't dare, Mom whispered. Try me. Or better yet, try explaining to your country club friends why Dad's firm is under federal investigation. That should make for interesting gossip over tennis. Dad stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. I could destroy you. No, Dad, I could destroy you. The only difference is I have proof to back it up. The back door opened and Reginald stumbled in, looking like he hadn't slept. Perfect timing, I said. We were just discussing family obligations. Mom and Dad seem to think they deserve a share of my success. What do you think, Reg? Should we tell them about your success stories? Amber, please, he mumbled. Please what? Please keep quiet about the embezzlement, the addiction, the fact that you're one bad day away from losing everything? Mom started crying, her usual manipulation tactic. We're your family. No, I said quietly. You're people who share my DNA. Family doesn't do what you did to me. Family doesn't tear down dreams or steal futures. What do you want? Dad asked, his voice heavy with defeat. I want you to sit there at the reunion today and watch as everything you built comes crumbling down. I want you to feel what I felt. Powerless, exposed, humiliated. You'll regret this, he threatened. I headed for the door, pausing only to say, the only thing I regret is believing in you for so long. See you at the reunion. Don't be late. The show won't wait for you. As I walked out, I heard Mom's sobs and Dad's angry muttering. Reginald called after me, but I didn't turn back. They'd made their choices years ago. Now it was time for them to face the consequences. I met Violet at our old hideout, the small cafe 2 blocks from the house where we'd spent countless hours plotting teenage escapes. She was already waiting, a stack of folders beside her coffee. You look like hell, she said as I slid into the booth. You should see the other guys. I ordered a double espresso. Tell me you have something good. Violet leaned forward, lowering her voice. Better than good. Remember how Uncle Marquis always bragged about landing the Peterson account? The one that made him partner? She pulled out a document, sliding it across the table. More like the one that should have landed him in prison. Look at the signature dates. I scanned the papers, my eyes widening. These are backdated by 3 years. And that's not all. She produced another folder. I found these in my mom's attic. Aunt Poppy's been hiding them for years. Letters from the SEC about suspicious trading patterns. How did you get these? Mom's spring cleaning turned up some interesting skeletons. She was more than happy to share once I told her about Aunt Poppy's comments about her divorce. The waitress brought my coffee, and I took a long sip. This is perfect. But are you sure you want to be involved? They'll know you helped me. Please, Violet scoffed. They've been treating us like second-class citizens for years. Remember my high school graduation? I did. Aunt Poppy had spent the entire ceremony talking about Reginald's internship. Besides, Violet continued, I've got more. You know Patricia? Mom's best friend? Ex-best friend. Turns out Aunt Poppy slept with Patricia's husband right before their divorce. Patricia's been sitting on that information for years, waiting for the right moment. I nearly choked on my coffee. Mom's going to have a meltdown. That's not even the best part. Violet pulled out her phone, showing me a series of text messages. Patricia's been gathering evidence about Uncle Marquise's firm. She used to work in their accounting department. Why didn't she come forward before? Fear, mostly. But when I told her about your plan, Violet grinned. Let's just say she's ready to be a star witness. My phone buzzed, a text from Reginald. We need to talk. Please. Ignore it, Violet said, reading my expression. He made his choices. Did you know he tried to blame his latest embezzlement on his assistant? The one who committed suicide last month? I nodded. The family covered it up, of course. Wouldn't want to tarnish the precious family name. Speaking of family names, Violet pulled out one last document. You might want to see this. It's about your college fund. I read through the paper, my hands shaking with rage. They didn't just spend it on Reginald's gambling. They never even set it up in the first place. They used your social security number to open credit cards instead. The debt's still out there, in your name. The cafe door chimed, and we both looked up to see Patricia walking in. She spotted us and made her way over, her usual elegant composure firmly in place. Ladies, she said, sliding into our booth, I believe we have some matters to discuss. Patricia, I started. You don't have to. Oh, but I do. She pulled out her own folder. Your mother didn't just betray me, Amber. She's been betraying everyone for years. These are copies of loans she took out in other people's names. Friends, family members, even her own sister. Violet whistled low. Aunt Poppy's been busy. Indeed. Patricia's smile was sharp. And I think it's time everyone knew exactly what kind of people they really are. My phone buzzed again, this time from Mom. Whatever you're planning, think about what this will do to the family. They're trying to guilt you, Violet observed. Too late for that. I showed them the guest list for the reunion. Everyone who matters will be there. The country club crowd, Dad's business partners, all the people they've been lying to for years. Perfect audience, Patricia said. And I took the liberty of inviting a few special guests, including Thomas from the SEC. He's very interested in your father's creative accounting. You really want to do this? I asked her. There's no going back. Patricia's eyes hardened. Your mother destroyed my marriage, smiled to my face for years knowing what she'd done, and then had the audacity to blame me for not keeping my husband happy. Yes, I want to do this. Violet raised her coffee cup. To karma. To justice, Patricia added. I looked at my phone one last time. 3 missed calls from Reginald, 2 from Dad, and a text from Mom asking to discuss terms. To truth, I said, clinking my cup against theirs. And to family, the real kind. The country club's grand ballroom buzzed with pre-reunion activity as I set up my presentation. Violet helped me connect the laptop while Patricia strategically placed hidden recorders around the room. Testing, testing, I whispered into my lapel microphone. Violet gave me a thumbs up from the sound booth. Your brother's here, Patricia announced, peering through the window. And he looks unstable. I watched Reginald pace the parking lot, repeatedly checking his phone. His expensive suit couldn't hide the tremors or the sweat on his forehead. Amber! My mother's voice echoed through the ballroom. She rushed toward me, designer heels clicking against the marble floor. We need to talk, now. We're past talking, Mom. $1 million, she blurted out. Your father and I will give you $1 million to stop this nonsense. I laughed. With what money? The money you stole from Mrs. Rodriguez? Or maybe from Dad's pension fund scam? Her face whitened. How did you know about Mrs. Rodriguez? Your elderly neighbor who trusted you to manage her retirement? The one who now lives in a studio apartment because you emptied her accounts? We were going to pay her back. Like you paid back all the others? I turned to the screen, pulling up a spreadsheet. 23 victims, Mom. 23 people who trusted their money to Dad's firm while you both lived large on their life savings. We did what we had to do, she hissed, to maintain our position, to give you children. To give Reginald everything and me nothing? I clicked through more documents. Here's my favorite part. The trust fund you told everyone you set up for me, the one that supposedly proved what wonderful, providing parents you were. Show me where it is, Mom. Show me one proof it ever existed. The ballroom doors opened again as guests started arriving. Mom's social mask slipped instantly into place, her voice dropping to an urgent whisper. Please, don't do this to us. Think about your father's reputation. Should have thought about that before he forged my signature on those credit cards. Dad appeared behind her, his face stormy. Last chance, Amber. Stop this now or what? I stepped closer. You'll disown me? Cut me off? Pretty hard to do when I'm worth more than your entire firm. You ungrateful little... Everything ready? Violet interrupted, appearing at my side. Almost, I said, just waiting for our special guest. Special guest? Mom's eyes darted around the room. Who else did you invite? As if on cue, Thomas from the SEC walked in, accompanied by two serious-looking men in suits. Dad's face went from red to gray in seconds. You didn't, he whispered. Oh, but I did. And look, there's Mrs. Rodriguez herself. Violet was kind enough to send her an invitation. Should we ask her about her retirement fund, Dad? More guests filtered in. The country club crowd, Dad's business partners, all the people they'd been deceiving for years. Reginald finally stumbled in, making a beeline for the bar. 10 minutes until showtime, Violet announced cheerfully. Stop this. Mom pleaded one last time. We're your parents. Parents? I pulled up the first slide of my presentation. Parents don't steal their child's identity. Parents don't mock their daughter's dreams while enabling their son's addictions. Parents don't destroy innocent people's lives to maintain their social status. I have contacts, Dad threatened. I can make sure you never do business in this town again. Good thing my business is worldwide then. I nodded to Violet, who dimmed the lights. You might want to find your seats. The show's about to begin. They retreated, huddling together at a front table. Reginald joined them, clutching a whiskey glass with shaking hands. Around them, the room filled with all the people they'd spent years impressing, deceiving, and stealing from. Patricia positioned herself near the emergency exit, phone ready to record everything. Thomas from the SEC sat with his colleagues, files open on the table before them. Ready? Violet asked, her finger hovering over the computer's spacebar. I looked at my family, really looked at them. Mom's perfect makeup couldn't hide her fear. Dad's commanding presence had shrunk to desperate glances at the exits. Reginald could barely sit still, probably needing another fix. For a moment, I saw them as they once were in my childhood eyes. Larger than life, untouchable, perfect. Then I remembered Mrs. Rodriguez's tears, the assistant's suicide, all the lives they'd ruined while maintaining their facade of respectability. Ready, I said, stepping up to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I have quite a story to tell you about my family. The first slide appeared on the screen, and the gasps began. There was no going back now. Let's start with a story about trust. I began, clicking to the first document. Mrs. Rodriguez, would you mind standing up? The elderly woman rose slowly, supported by her daughter. The room fell silent. Mrs. Rodriguez trusted my parents with her life savings, 40 years of hard work. Would you like to tell everyone what happened to that money, Mom? No? Then I will. The screen displayed bank statements, transfers, forged signatures. Each click of the presentation brought new gasps from the audience. $2.5 million, I announced, transferred gradually into offshore accounts under my father's control. Money that was supposed to fund Mrs. Rodriguez's retirement, her grandchildren's education, her late husband's medical bills. This is slander. Dad stood up, his voice shaking. I'll sue you for what? Telling the truth? I clicked to the next slide. Speaking of truth, let's talk about the Peterson account. Mr. Peterson, I believe you're here tonight? A distinguished man in the back straightened up, his expression darkening as numbers filled the screen. These documents show how my father's firm has been systematically embezzling from your company's pension fund. The signatures are forged, the dates are altered, and the money. I paused for effect. Well, some of it went to cover my brother's gambling debts. Reginald lunged for the door, but Thomas's colleagues blocked his path. "Sit down, Mr. Montgomery," Thomas called out. "We have some questions about those transactions." Mom grabbed Dad's arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into his sleeve. "Do something." "Oh, we're just getting started," I continued. "Let's talk about identity theft, specifically how my parents opened multiple credit cards in my name when I was still a minor." The projector displayed credit card statements, loan applications, all bearing my forged signature. While they were telling everyone about my trust fund, which never existed, they were actually destroying my credit score before I could even vote. Patricia stood up next. "If I may, Amber, I have something to add." Mom's face went ashen. "Patricia, please. Your best friend for 20 years, wasn't I, Poppy?" Patricia's voice carried across the silent room. "Tell them why we really stopped speaking. Tell them about Robert." "This is private business," Mom sputtered. "Like the private business of sleeping with my husband? Or the private business of stealing from your own sister?" More documents appeared on screen, loans taken out in various names, all traced back to my parents' accounts. "You see," I addressed the stunned audience, "this isn't just about money. It's about a lifetime of lies, manipulation, and betrayal." Reginald suddenly stood up, swaying slightly. "I need to say something." "Sit down," Dad hissed. "No, I'm done covering for you." Reginald turned to face the crowd. "Everything she's saying is true. I helped hide the evidence, helped cook the books. Dad said it was for the family, but it was really for his reputation, his social status." "You ungrateful." Dad started toward him, but Thomas's agent stepped forward. "Mr. Montgomery, I suggest you remain seated. We have some serious matters to discuss." The room erupted in whispers. I could see Mrs. Rodriguez crying softly, her daughter comforting her. Mr. Peterson was already on his phone, presumably calling his lawyers. "One last thing," I said, pulling up the final slides. "These are records of every transaction, every fraud, every lie. Copies have been sent to the SEC, the FBI, and every victim's lawyer. It's over." Mom collapsed into her chair, her perfect facade crumbling. Dad stared straight ahead, his empire disintegrating before his eyes. "You've destroyed this family," he said quietly. "No, Dad, you did that yourself. I'm just turning on the lights." Violet appeared at my side with a stack of folders. "The SEC would like to speak with you and Mom in private, and the police are here for Reginald. Something about outstanding warrants." As the authorities moved in, the room descended into chaos. Country club members hurried out, whispering frantically into phones. Business partners huddled with their lawyers. Mrs. Rodriguez approached my parents, years of pain evident in her eyes. "I trusted you," she said simply. "I trusted you with everything I had." Mom couldn't even look at her. I watched as my family was escorted out, Dad and Mom with the SEC, Reginald with the police. They looked smaller somehow, stripped of their pretenses and power. Patricia touched my arm gently. "Are you okay?" "I don't know," I admitted, "but I'm better than I was yesterday." Through the window, I could see reporters arriving, drawn by the scandal. Tomorrow, everyone would know the truth about the perfect Montgomery family. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly free. The next morning's headlines screamed across every local paper. "Prominent financial advisor arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme." My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. I sat in my hotel room, watching the morning news coverage with Violet and Patricia. My parents' faces flashed across the screen as they were led out of the police station after posting bail. "Turn it up," Violet said, leaning forward. "Sources say the fraud spans over 2 decades, the reporter announced. Multiple victims have come forward, including prominent business leaders and elderly retirees. The SEC estimates losses could exceed $50 million. My phone rang. Reginald's lawyer. "Hello? Ms. Montgomery, your brother would like to speak with you. He's agreed to cooperate fully with authorities, but he's asking for your help." I put the phone on speaker. "With what?" "Rehabilitation. He says you helped him before anonymously. He's ready to get clean for real this time." Patricia raised an eyebrow. I covered the phone. "What do you think?" "He did come clean at the reunion," she whispered. "That took guts." I uncovered the phone. Tell him I'll help with rehab, but only if he makes full restitution to everyone he hurt, including his former assistant's family. Agreed. And he wanted me to tell you he's sorry for everything. After hanging up, I turned back to the TV. They were interviewing Mrs. Rodriguez now. They were my friends, she said, tears in her eyes. I trusted them with my husband's life insurance, with everything we'd saved. Now I'm working part-time at 72 just to afford my medication. Violet squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. A sharp knock at the door made us all jump. Patricia opened it to find my mother standing there, looking like she'd aged 10 years overnight. 5 minutes, she said. Please. I nodded and she entered, refusing the seat Violet offered. Your father's firm is finished, she said without preamble. The house is being seized. Our accounts are frozen. Everything we built. Everything you stole, I corrected. Yes. She seemed to deflate. Everything we stole. The country club has revoked our membership. Our friends won't take my calls. Even your aunt, my own sister, has filed charges for identity theft. What do you want, Mom? I want to understand. Why now? Why like this? You could have confronted us privately. Like you confronted Mrs. Rodriguez privately? Or Reginald's assistant before she died? How many lives did you destroy privately, Mom? She flinched. We never meant for anyone to get hurt. Really? What did you think would happen when you stole people's life savings? When you forged their signatures and emptied their accounts? We were protecting our status, our reputation. Your lies? I interrupted. You were protecting your lies, and now everyone knows the truth. She moved to the window, staring out at the reporters still camped in the parking lot. Your father's talking about divorce. Says he needs to protect what assets he has left. Shocking. A man who'd steal from the elderly would abandon his wife to save himself. I deserve that, she whispered. I deserve all of this. But Amber, you're still my daughter. No, Mom. I stopped being your daughter the day you chose your social status over my future. The day you stole my identity instead of believing in me. My phone buzzed, a text from Thomas. Federal indictments coming tomorrow. Thought you should know. They're going to arrest your father again, Mom said, reading my expression. Aren't they? I nodded. She straightened her shoulders, some of her old poise returning. I should go. I need to pack what they'll let me keep. At the door, she paused. For what it's worth, I am proud of you. Not for this, but for what you built on your own. The daughter I failed to see became the woman I couldn't imagine being. After she left, Patricia broke the silence. Well, that was unexpected. She's still manipulating, Violet said, playing the victim. Maybe, I replied. Or maybe she's finally seeing herself clearly for the first time. My phone buzzed again. Mrs. Rodriguez's daughter. Mom wants to know if you'll join us for dinner tonight. She says she'd like to thank you properly. As I typed my reply, I could hear more reporters arriving outside. Tomorrow would bring federal charges, more revelations, more consequences. But for now, I had dinner plans with people who understood the true meaning of family. Coming to dinner? I asked Violet and Patricia. They both nodded, and we gathered our things. As we left the hotel through a side door, I caught one last glimpse of the news vans, their cameras ready to capture the next chapter of the Montgomery family's fall from grace. But that wasn't my story anymore. I had a different kind of family now, one built on truth, not lies. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as my father was led out in handcuffs. 15 years for fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Mom got 8 years in a separate trial with additional charges pending. I watched from across the street, remembering all the times they'd stood on those same steps, proud and untouchable, looking down on everyone else. Ready to go? Violet asked, keys in hand. Almost. There's one more thing I need to do. We drove to the rehabilitation center where Reginald was completing his 90-day program. He looked healthier now, clear-eyed, steady hands. I didn't expect you to come, he said as we sat in the garden. Wasn't sure I would. I handed him an envelope. Your assistant's family agreed to meet with you once you're ready. They want to hear the truth about what happened. He took the envelope with trembling fingers. I wrote them a letter, but it wasn't enough. Nothing will be enough, but the truth is a start. The trust fund money, he said suddenly. The one that was supposed to be yours. I found out where Dad hid it. I leaned forward. What? It did exist, originally, but Dad moved it through shell companies, then used it as collateral for loans. I have all the documentation. The lawyers think they can recover most of it. I don't need the money. I know. He smiled weakly. But Mrs. Rodriguez does. And the others. Understanding dawned. You want to use it for restitution. It's not enough to cover everything, but... He shrugged. It's a start, like you said. My phone buzzed. Mrs. Rodriguez was calling. I'd been helping her navigate the legal proceedings, and somewhere along the way, she'd become like the grandmother I never had. She's making dinner tonight, I told Reginald. Her famous paella. You should come once you're out of here. You'd want that? Want? No, but maybe we both need it. Back in the car, Violet handed me a newspaper. The business section featured my company's latest charitable initiative, a foundation helping victims of financial fraud rebuild their lives. Patricia called, she said. The support group is taking off. 10 new members just this week. I thought about those meetings, where people shared stories of betrayal and recovery. Mom's sister was there sometimes, working through her own healing. Even some of Dad's former business partners attended, though they sat in the back, still processing their unwitting role in his schemes. Did you see this? Violet showed me her phone, a social media post from one of the country club members. Privilege isn't a shield from consequences. Money isn't a substitute for morality. Thank you, Amber, for showing us the truth. We pulled up to Mrs. Rodriguez's modest apartment building. Through the window, I could see her setting the table, Patricia helping with dishes. They waved us up. Before we go in, Violet said, there's something you should know. The federal investigators found more evidence. Dad was stealing long before you were born. This was never about providing for family. It was always about power. I know. I grabbed the container of dessert from the back seat, but that's his legacy, not mine. Upstairs, Mrs. Rodriguez hugged me tight. My angel, she called me, like always. The apartment was small but warm, filled with photos of her real treasure, family, friends, love. I made flan, I said, placing the dessert on her counter. But first, look. She proudly showed me her new lease. She'd be moving to a better apartment next month, thanks to the first restitution payments. As we gathered around her table, I looked at these people who'd become my true family. Patricia, who'd turned her pain into purpose. Violet, who'd stood by me when standing up was hardest. Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd lost everything but kept her heart open. A toast, Patricia raised her glass. To truth. To justice, Violet added. To family, Mrs. Rodriguez said, squeezing my hand. I thought about Reginald, trying to rebuild himself. About Mom and Dad, facing the consequences of their choices. About all the lives touched by their actions and my response. To healing, I said, raising my glass, and to choosing who we become. Outside, the city continued its rhythm. Somewhere, reporters were still telling our story. Lawyers were still untangling decades of fraud. People were still recovering, still healing, still learning to trust again. But here, in this moment, surrounded by genuine love and honest hearts, I was exactly where I needed to be. Now, Mrs. Rodriguez announced, bringing out her paella, we eat, we laugh, we live. That's what real family does. And she was right. That's exactly what we did.